Welcome, folks, back to the Booze Free Babes podcast. Today, we are joined by Lani Jumper, and she is with Wake Up Carolina. I am so excited to have Lani on the podcast today, and I just have to share this little story with you guys. The first time I met Lani, y'all, I was newly sober, and I was just so excited, and I think I talked to you on the phone or something, and I was like, this is who we are, this is what we're doing, and it's like the coolest new thing, and you were like, yeah, I'm in recovery too. And I was like, oh, you are? Oh my God, this is great. And of course you are, right? I think I was just at that stage of recovery where I was just so freaking happy to be alive. Do you know that feeling I'm talking about?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like that.
Welcome, Lani. We are just so
Thank
excited
you.
to have you on the show today. So let me give you guys a little backstory here on Lani. She is actually a harm reduction. She handles harm reduction through the Charleston County Outreach. She's a coordinator with them. She also is a certified peer support specialist and does a lot of community outreach through Wake Up Carolina. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ellen. I appreciate it. I love that beginning story because we have to stay that way, right? Whether we're newly in recovery or we've got 50 years under our belt, right? Like I hope that fire still, is still lit in me when many more 24 hours, have passed. So I love that. I love that so much.
Thank you. I hope the fire never goes out, but
I
sometimes it
know.
fizzles, but it never goes out, right?
That's right. That's right. As long as we keep doing the next right thing, right? That's what they
Right.
say. So I'm going to keep doing it. And it makes it a little bit easier in what I do because I deal in recovery, every day, every single day, whether it be at work or whether it be at home or, whatever that looks like. Right. Um, so, um, so yes, I am. I started out with Wake Up Carolina. I will say, like you mentioned, I am a person in recovery. I've just almost 2.5 years, 2 years, 5 months, and a couple of days.
Right on. That is so awesome.
Yeah, so I am the harm reduction. I started out as the harm reduction coordinator at Wake Up, and then just recently, in the past 3 months, maybe 3 months, I also took over the Charleston County Outreach. So we do have two offices. We have one in Mount Pleasant, just off of Shim Creek, and then we have a newer office. It's just a little over, maybe a year and a half, a little over a year and a half, in Berkeley County, in Monk's Corner. So I was doing harm reduction at both offices, and it got a little straining. So now I just work out of the Charleston County Mount Pleasant office. So it makes it a little bit easier. So I'm able to do a lot more outreach and out in the community, which I love. I have never met a stranger, and I hope that I never do. Um, I'll say a little bit about about me and my recovery. I it's all the stories are the same. We can find our our likes in everybody's story that we hear. The biggest thing for me was I wanted more of anything, no matter what that was. And that's it in a nutshell. I went to treatment. I was lucky enough to be able to do that 2.5 years ago, or yeah, almost 2.5 years ago. And I got out of treatment, and came home and did intensive outpatient, um, dove into a 12-step program immediately. While I was in treatment, there was a 15-year-old boy, they told us about him, that had passed away.
Oh, wow.
And it was from cross contamination of marijuana with fentanyl. And I came home and I was scared to death, because at that time I had two 14-year-old nephews, and I was deathly afraid that they were going to have, they were going to experiment, and I was going to lose one of them due to that fact. So I looked at my wife on that Sunday night that I got home, and I said, we have to get Narcan. I have to have Narcan in this house. She said, okay. So she started Googling where to get Narcan, all those things. And she said, well, there's this place called Wake Up Carolina, and they're doing a community Narcan training this Wednesday. I said, all right, how much is it? And she's like, no, it's free. And I was like, okay, sign me up.
Yes.
So She did, and my sister went with me, and so we went that Wednesday, and I got trained on how to use Narcan. And that was the first I'd ever heard of Wake Up Carolina. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what they did. Nancy Stedman Shipman, who is our executive director, was happened to be there that night. And after the training, she said, "Does anybody have any questions?" And I raised my hand as tall as I could get it. And I said, "Yes, they told me I have to do service work to stay sober. So I want to volunteer." And so I did. And anytime they called, I showed up. And for a year, I volunteered. And then Nancy messaged me. I've been at Wake Up for April 1st of this past year was a year. And she called me in that January before, and she said, "We're posting some jobs." And I was like, "Oh, that's great. I'm so happy for y'all." She goes, "No, Lani, we're posting jobs." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
You want me to apply?
Yeah. So that's how it started. So my love for Wake Up Carolina started way before they helped pay my mortgage. And I have, it has been the best decision that I didn't make for myself. I believe that in recovery, things are revealed to us, and our paths are shown if we sit patient and wait and listen, right? And listen to those, whether it had different names for them, right? God winks or God moments, or or whatever that is, right? Twinkles,
Right,
I
whatever
don't
that is
know.
for you. Yep.
Yeah, whatever you want to call them, right? All the cute little names, right? But that's definitely what happened to me. And when I was able to sit still and actually follow the path that was laid out in front of me, it brought me to this amazing organization, and I love it. I love it here. All days aren't easy, um, you know, but all days are beneficial, whether they be for me or for someone that I'm helping. Um,
Gosh,
I
you
don't
can't
know.
ask
Do
for a
you
better
want?
job than that.
Yeah, I guess maybe I should say what we do here.
Yeah, I definitely want to
A
get
little
into
bit.
what Wake Up Carolina does. And before we go much further, I just want to
Yeah,
share that this episode is going to be a tribute for Robert Keith O'Neill. There is a beautiful thing that Wake Up Carolina does, and I'm gonna let you tell the story, but this one's close to us. This one's close to home, so we wanted to honor the family, the Chavis family, and just mention Robert Keith O'Neill on the podcast today. So this podcast will be done in his memory. So tell us a little bit about what Wake Up Carolina does, and then also how you create awareness within the community.
absolutely, absolutely. So I'll start with kind of the basis on how we got started, because it's all about impact. So I mentioned Nancy earlier, our executive director. She lost her 19-year-old son to a heroin overdose, and she realized in that there wasn't anything for young adults in this area, and so Creighton's House got started, and that is our young adult recovery group, ages 14 to 21. And it gives them a safe space to come in and be able to talk about, substance misuse or substance use disorder, whatever that looks like for them. But they know that they have a safe space to be able to come and talk and to meet other young adults that are, whether they be, moderating or, abstinence or whatever that looks like for them. So that's how we got started. And then it's grown into this big, beautiful organization, right? So we are a nonprofit. So all our services that we offer are 100% free to the community. We know here at Wake Up that it is a family disease. The substance use disorder is a family disease. So we not only offer support and recovery to people who have substance use disorder, but we also offer it to the families of. So we have a mother's gathering and a dad to dad, and that's for moms and dads that have children that have substance use disorder, and it gives them a place, a safe place to be able to come in and talk to other moms and dads who are dealing with the same sort of thing, at whatever level they're at, in their own personal recovery, meaning recovery in the sense of, whether we are the person with substance use disorder or not, we affect everyone in our lives. And there needs to be a sense of recovery there as well, for the family members and the loved ones of, you know, of us,
Right.
because I tell people all the time, when I was, actively using, I was a tornado. I bounced off of anything that would stand still long enough. And I tore a lot of relationships up. And recovery's given me the ability to be able to repair those relationships. And that's what we offer here is, just a sense of, of home, and hope, that there's a better way, and whether their loved one is, still actively, using substances, or whether they're in recovery. There's all different levels for that. We also offer individual peer support. So like you mentioned earlier, I am a peer support specialist. And so we just sit down with people that are interested in recovery, right? Like just a little glimmer of maybe, right? And we help them sit down and set goals, and whether that looks like moderating or abstinence, or whatever that looks like. We also, offer multiple pathways to recovery, because not everybody's recovery looks the same. So we do SMART recovery meetings. We have a veterans recovery group. I mentioned the young adult recovery group that we have. We also have an all recovery group that we do out of our Moncks Corner office. And then we do harm reduction, and which is what I do, and I'll be real honest, I didn't know what harm reduction was until I started here. So
I was actually going to say, do you mind walking us through what harm
no,
reduction
yeah,
looks like, so that the listener can have a better
yeah,
understanding? Thank you.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So we distribute Narcan, fentanyl test strips, and xylazine test strips. And like I'd mentioned earlier, all of our services are free, so all our distribution is free as well. Then we also do HIV and Hep C testing. So we have actually, the person who took over my role as harm reduction in Berkeley County also does our HIV and Hep C information. Services. So we do that. They have a lot of walk-ins that come into that office. So there are a lot of treatment centers that require HIV and Hep C testing, and so we're
Oh,
able to
before
offer
you
that.
can. Okay, wow, I didn't
Right?
realize that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Some of them do. Specifically, one that's there in Mount Pleasant. I'm sorry, Moncks Corner. So we get a lot of walk-ins for that. We also work with the Navigation Center, and she goes down there about once a month, and offers HIV and Hep C testing for the unhoused. Um, so we also have our Healing Hearts gathering. So that is our grief and loss. So that is where people who have lost someone, whether it be a family member or a loved one, to substances, and they're able to come in, and we do that out of both offices. And they're able to come in and sit down and talk to one of our peer support about the feelings that they're having, and dealing with grief, and other like-minded people that have lost someone to substances are in that meeting as well. So it's been very beneficial for quite a few people to be able to come and talk about their grief, and mourn the loss. I feel like this is a perfect segue into what you were speaking about earlier with. So every year we do our Overdose Awareness Day, and we partner with the town of Mount Pleasant and Charleston Center, and it's on the front lawn at Town Hall here in Mount Pleasant, and it's a beautiful
Wow.
event. If you've never experienced it, it is a surreal moment. Um, there is it always it takes me back, and really takes my breath every time I see all the luminary bags with people's names on them that we've lost over the years, um, due to overdose. And this will be my third year. This past year was my third year doing it. First year as a volunteer. The first year I was a volunteer, and then this last 2 years as an employee. And it's just where we honor the people that we've lost. And it gives us a place to be able to grieve and to be together and to gain support and to make people aware
That's what I
of
was
the
going to say.
impact.
It creates a lot of awareness, right? I mean, for our
Absolutely.
community to see that, yes, this is really an epidemic happening even on a local level.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Um, so we do a lighted path, and it has, people can submit their loved ones' names, and they can, write little notes to them, and we attach those to the bags as well. And then we do a full Narcan training prior to, um, and then we have a screen with a tribute to anyone who has submitted pictures, because you can submit a picture or you can just do a luminary bag. So we do that every year in August. It's I'm getting ready to question myself, the last Thursday. It has been the last Thursday in August, being that Overdose Awareness Day is on August 31st. So we do it the last Thursday. Prior to, so the month of August, we each day pay tribute to one of the people that their names and pictures have been submitted. So we do that on social media. And it's always such an amazing thing. I wish it wasn't necessary.
Right.
I wish that we weren't where we are with overdoses. But unfortunately we are. And it's just an amazing way to pay tribute to, to the ones that we've lost and the ones that we love. And I just think it's one of our largest events that we do, if not the largest event that we do.
Wow.
But it's just so impactful. It's so impactful. It's sad that we have to do it, but it just gives people a space to be able to come in and really feel the presence and to gain the support that they may need in trying times.
Yeah, I love that
So
you guys are helping people through that grief process because that is obviously a lifelong journey and it just keeps cyclically cycling back around, right?
yeah.
One thing that stood out to me though while you were sharing is the empowerment piece of this, right? Like we're
Hmm.
empowering our community to take action with these Narcan trainings and with having free distribution of Narcan all over the community. Now, we're based in Charleston, South Carolina. However, this is a national thing. And just because we are interviewing people locally, there's resources available even beyond our reach, right? So I just encourage people to find those resources in your own community. And the work that Wake Up's doing, and Lani, the work that you're doing, I see you all over town and all over
Yeah,
the
yeah.
place distributing Narcan and creating awareness for our community. And that is so important and so needed. And we appreciate the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I
So
love it. I
tell
love
us a
having it.
little bit about how we can reach Wake Up Carolina. What's the best way to find you guys?
Look for me out on the corner. No. I'm
Right.
normally there. No. So our website is probably the easiest. So that's wakeupcarolina.org, www.wakeupcarolina.org. And it has all of our information on it. It's actually a very well done um, website. Obviously, we love for people to come by the office. So we are, like I said, just off of Shem Creek in Mount Pleasant, in Market Commons.
Okay.
And then in Monk's Corner, we're right on East Main Street. You can't miss us. And so we love to have people stop by. And you can walk in at any time if you need Narcan or fentanyl test strips, xylazine test strips. We have those, and I can give you a quick training if you don't know how to use it and explain how it's done. It's super easy. I mean, I tell people all the time, there's not a whole lot of ways to mess it up. Um, but yeah, I'm happy to do that at any given time, or call the office. And I joke all the time, and I'm like, I have Narcan will travel. I will bring it to you. I'm a firm believer that everyone should have Narcan on them. I have a lot of people tell me that, oh, I don't know anybody that does drugs. And I'm like, well, I don't know anybody either. You know, like, I'm in recovery, so I don't hang out with the people I used to hang out with. I said, but substance use doesn't look like it used to. It's everywhere, and it could be your neighbor, it could be your mail carrier, it could be the person sitting beside you at a restaurant, the person pumping gas beside you at the gas station. So it doesn't look like it used to. It's everywhere now, and it's sad to have to say that, but we have to be prepared. We have to be prepared. We wear seatbelts every day, right?
Right.
To do that, we brush our teeth. Like, that's all. That's all harm reduction. It's all harm reduction in the simplest form, right?
Right.
And so, why wouldn't we be willing to potentially save someone's life, or at least give them the opportunity? Because one of our mottos here at Wake Up Carolina is, where there's breath, there's hope, right? And so, if we can give someone just one more day, just one more hour, to be able to to give them the opportunity to make the decision to enter into recovery, why wouldn't we do that for somebody?
Right.
I know I will. And I just hope that there's one person out there that says, that's hearing this today, that goes, you know what, let me go get some Narcan. Because you just never know. You just never know where you're going to be and how that's going to happen. And I tell people every time I hand them Narcan, I'm like, I hope this expires and you never have to use it.
Right.
I hope you never have to use it. Right. But, I'm also a firm believer that, I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Right.
So,
I 100% agree with that.
yeah, I mean,
And I feel like
I want to.
initiations like what you guys are doing, what the police department's doing here locally, and some other organizations too, which we'll interview them later, but are really taking the stigma out of having Narcan accessible and making Narcan easily accessible. And I think that's really important, because once we accept the fact that yes, there is an issue, and number two, we can actually be a part of the solution just by being accessible and having Narcan accessible. I think that's the shift in our
Mm-hmm.
collective mindset, right? That we could make. And shifting that stigma is also part of this mission too, right?
Absolutely, 100%. The biggest thing is, and one of the myths, I think, sorry, phone's ringing. I
Okay.
apologize. Um, but one of the things is, one of the myths that a lot of people aren't aware of, is that you can't use Narcan on yourself. So,
Right.
yeah,
I
like,
mean,
if I'm
that should be common
overdosing,
sense, but no, you're right.
yeah, like, you're unconscious, you cannot use Narcan on yourself. So that's the biggest thing is, and since in 2017, the Good Samaritan law went into effect. And that protects anyone that is administering Narcan on someone else. So you can't be, there are no legal ramifications if, let's say the person doesn't make it, then you can't be, no harm, no foul, right? You tried to save a life, and it also, criminal immunity to anyone that is, let's say two people are using together, one person overdoses, and then the other person calls 911. And there's criminal immunity. I mean, of course, there's some stipulations there, but as long as it's in good faith to save another person's life. And what that does and what that's created is it has reduced the amount of people that are getting dumped outside emergency rooms or left in houses overdosing and dying. or left in the backseat of a car. So it's reduced the number of those occurrences, and that's one of the reasons why it was put into effect. I believe that South Carolina has one of the best, if not the best, Good Samaritan law in the United States.
Wow. That's beautiful.
I really believe in it. It really, there's really no reason. There's no reason not to carry it and not to use it if you have to. The other thing about Narcan is, there are no allergic reactions. It doesn't interact with any other medications. It's safe for pets. It's safe for kids. It's safe for pregnant women. Like, there's just no reason. Like, I get real passionate about it. I want to shake people. I'm like, just carry it, please. And there's always going to be people that won't, right? There's always going to be people that won't, and that's okay. If we can break down the stigma, even just a little bit to give people, just, like I said, just one more chance to enter into recovery. And that's what it's about. Like, that's what it's about for me. I have walked up and down King Street, handing out Narcan, for hours, and there's always going to be people who don't, but it's amazing when, I'm able to look at someone and say, let me convince you. Just give me 1 second and let me convince you. And it's always, 90% of the time they go, oh my God, I didn't think about that.
Wow.
I didn't know that. Right. And that's what it's about. And that's what builds me up and makes me want to continue to do this. It's just having that one person who was adamant about not carrying, Narcan and not understanding harm reduction. Right. Because like I said, I was one of those people. I'm like, harm reduction? Like, what does that even mean? And I was like, I'm willing to try anything once, especially in recovery.
Right.
It's like, absolutely explain it to me. What will I be doing? I will do it. You just tell me what I need to do. And that's what I do. That's what I do every day, is try to get people, and, just to be just that little bit of willingness, whether
There's
it be
something
willingness in recovery or willingness to carry Narcan. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm all about divvying it out.
I want to circle back to something that you said about going down King Street and dispersing Narcan. There was a young person that had OD'd on King Street. This was a couple of months ago, and Favor was doing a big push where they were giving out Narcan. And so my husband and I took a bunch of Narcan and started dropping it off to the different bars, because in West Ashley, we live in West Ashley, so we just did West Ashley. Here was the interesting thing that I found out from that experience. There were more bartenders that wanted Narcan at the establishment. And I was surprised by that because, well, first of all, I haven't bartended in many years. So, things have changed, right? Things have changed, drugs have changed, drinks have changed, all of it's changed. So just to hear the feedback from these younger bartenders that are like, I'm really surprised that this establishment doesn't keep Narcan on hand. And I absolutely would keep some on hand. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. Should we do an initiative where we're targeting more businesses so that if somebody is within whatever distance from that business, for example, like a bar, like with that kid on King Street, how that overdose happened. I mean, he was at a bar, obviously doing drugs or whatever, and that's how that happened. So I don't know. It was just wild that, one, there were so many bartenders that were receptive to it, and it was the establishments that didn't heed that notice. Right. And so how can we, and that's what makes this work so important. What Booze Free Babes is doing and what Wake Up Carolina is doing is creating that awareness and identifying where is the need and how can we save more people's lives. And people are worthy of saving. And I think I'm going to name this episode, As Long as There Is Breath, There Is Hope. Is that how you worded it? If there's breath, there's hope. That is the most beautiful thing that I've heard today. And if we could take anything away from this conversation, it should be that everyone is worthy and deserving. If there is breath, there is absolutely hope.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And I definitely agree with you with the bars and the restaurants. I do a lot of Narcan trainings at restaurants and catering services and that sort of thing. But it does need to be done more. Absolutely, 100%. Because, the percentage of overdoses that happen are in residents, personal residents, and bathrooms, restaurants, and gas station bathrooms. So, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
crazy,
Yeah. Okay.
crazy.
So gas stations and restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's our next mission. And I
Mm-hmm.
had talked to, I had, well, I don't want to get on that topic. Anyway, we had talked about possibly doing some sort of outreach where we could reach more people. And then a couple of people on the favor board had mentioned that they'd be interested in that too. So maybe that's a collaboration that we can all do together.
Absolutely, I would love
Bringing
to.
more awareness, bringing more education, which you guys are already doing. I mean, and so is it every Wednesday night or is it just one Wednesday a month that you're doing education?
So one Wednesday a month is the second Wednesday of every month at Town Hall, Mount Pleasant. So next Wednesday, the uh-oh,
Eighth.
eighth.
Yeah.
I had to look at my big calendar back there. Y'all can't see it, but it's huge. It takes up the whole wall. I need every bit of it. If it was bigger, it would be better. October the 8th at 6 p.m. At Mount Pleasant Town Hall. It's free to the community. You can go on our website and sign up, or just show up. That's what I tell people. It's always nice to know how many people to prepare for. But if you realize and it's 5:45 and like, oh, Lonnie said there was I can't go because I didn't sign up. No, please just show up. Just show up. We will welcome you with open arms. It takes an hour, 45 minutes, depending on how many questions people want to ask. But we partner with Mount Pleasant Police Department for that and the Charleston Center. And we do that the second Wednesday of every month. And then if you are in or around Goose Creek, we also do a community Narcan training there on the third Tuesday of the month. And that is at Goose Creek Police Department. And we partner with the Kennedy Center and Goose Creek Police Department to do that one.
Awesome.
So twice a month. But the one here in Mount Pleasant is on the second Wednesday. Goose Creek is on the third Tuesday. I almost got this switched.
You got
Yeah.
it. Nailed it.
And if anybody is listening and you own a business or work at a business or a restaurant or whatever, please call me. I will be happy to come out and do a training for you guys. It is what I do. I like getting out of the office, and I love to hear myself talk. So,
I love that.
so
Makes my job easy, right?
win-win.
Win-win.
Yeah, but I'll be
So
happy. And those trainings are 100% free, whether I come to you or, and then I'm able to do them on Zoom as well. If that is a necessity, I can do that as well.
that is awesome. I've got
Yeah,
all my spidey senses are going off in different ways and things that we can do. One thing I
absolutely.
wanted to mention too is that some feedback that I did get from the restaurants that we did drop off Narcan to is that the employees ended up taking the Narcan home.
Yep.
So that's why it's so important that we replenish. Because if we need to
Yes.
arm the entire staff with Narcan, so be it, right?
Yep.
That's kind
Absolutely.
of the opinion that I have. And there's a saying that we use often at the Booze Free Babes Clubhouse, and that is more is more. Like, I don't believe in
Hmm.
competition. There is no competition in this space. We're all here with the same agenda, the same mission, and it's to save and change lives. And more is more. We need more of this. We need
Hmm.
more, exposure, more buy-in, more people, that are hearing this call until we don't have to have any more luminaries lighting a pathway in the future.
That's
So that's
exactly
my
right.
mission. I'm standing on it.
Let's do it. I mean, we are better together.
Yeah,
If it weren't for our community partners, we wouldn't be half of the organization that we are. We partner with with other like-minded people with like-minded missions. and that's how we become better. We can't do this by ourselves.
Right.
This is not a solo, excursion. We have to have our community partners to be able to be what we are. And without that, we would not be able to be effective. So for that, we're always grateful and willing. I feel like I've said willing a lot this morning. So, but yeah, I mean, we're better together. We are just better together. It just makes
Love
it
it.
easier, and we're able to, to chip away at the stigma, and hopefully be able to save, one life. And that's kind of what I say all the time. I'm like, I'll go and hand out a bunch of Narcan, and I'm like, well, I probably saved a life today. Just one. I mean, I might have handed out 250 Narcan. Out of that 250, hopefully one person. And that's what we can do. That's all we can do.
Can I just say
So,
thank you for a second? Because here's the
absolutely.
thing. I was talking to Asa the other day, and she had a pretty rough day, and I just told her thank you for the job that she did that day, because this outreach is not an easy job, and it takes someone pretty strong and secure in their own path to be able to do it. And so I don't know if you've heard that today. Maybe you
No,
have, but if you haven't, let me be the first to thank you for the work that you do, because it is important and it does save lives, and we appreciate that. And I can promise you that the families of those luminaries that light that path also appreciate it too. So keep doing what you're doing, and thank you so much
appreciate
for doing
that.
it.
Yeah, it's always good to hear thank you, I mean, and to be appreciated, right? Um, and it's not the reason I do it. But it does feel good. My little ego, I got a little warm ego feeling. Yeah.
And
Thanks.
that's okay too. I'm
Yeah.
glad. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that you work your ass off. I do know
Yeah.
that, and I see you everywhere. And that's why I just want to say thank you for the hard work that you do in our community, seriously. And there's a lot of people that we're going to have on this podcast that do similar work, and we're really grateful for it. And the purpose of this podcast is to bring more attention to those resources so that people that happen to stumble across this podcast can know where they can land on healing modalities, multiple pathways, and also different types of support. So thank you, Lani, for being with
Absolutely.
us today on the Booze Free Babes podcast. We were so grateful to have you, and so grateful for the
Thank
work that
you.
you and Wake Up Carolina are doing.
Thank you so much, Ellen. Thank you for inviting me. I am always willing to do what I can. So I appreciate you.
We appreciate you too. And that's a wrap, folks. We'll catch you next time on the Booze Free Babes podcast. See you soon.